welcome to all our viewers. Let me start by saying that the NeuroLeadership Institute is very grateful to all our participants who reposed their trust in our coaching program and helped us remain at the top with back-to-back batches running non-stop right through the successive lockdowns. With 20,000 plus coaches across 25 countries, brain-based coaching is one of the world's most respected ICF certified programs. So a big shout out to our alumni out there. Today, we are joined by Harsha Sundararam, who is a director with a well-known global IT company in the HR space and is a certified brain-based coach from the September 2020 batch. Welcome, Harsha, to this brief conversation.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you so much. The pleasure is all mine.
Welcome. And let me get started by asking you, what drew you to coaching?
Okay. I think what drew me to coaching is a very interesting one, actually. I had one of my ex-bosses, right now he's not with me. He took this program, and that was, I think, quite some time back, almost 3-4 years back. And I saw a very drastic change in him, the ways to approach people and speak as well. And that inspired me a lot. And when I did plan to take up the program, I spoke to him. He did guide me in a lot of those aspects as well. And that really helped me take that decision. And people did mention that I'm a good listener, so I might make a good coach as well. So I thought, let me explore that. When I was getting into it, frankly, I wasn't sure how much, what all is there in that. But I think once I got into it, it was just an amazing experience.
Yeah, isn't it? I mean, it's an amazing experience, and I'm so interested to hear that you saw that change in someone, which sort of helped you take that decision forward. So that's fantastic. But here is the other question, which you may like to sort of debate on is, there are many coaching schools today. I mean, there was a time when we started off almost 10 years back, there were very few, coaching schools worth its salt. But with so many coaching schools today, what attracted you to brain-based coaching, the neuroscience-based coaching?
Well, I think the answer lies in your question itself. The brain-based coaching, neuroscience coaching was something which was extremely interesting. And that exactly drew me to this program. And then when I mentioned to you about my ex-boss who I spoke to and who I do consult even now, he did tell me to explore this. One major thing was the faculty that does the program. I think those are just awesome faculty. And when I picked up the program initially, COVID was not there. It was supposed to be a batch. It was supposed to be in classroom batch, but it went virtual after that. And just because of the kind of coaches and kind of facilitators we had running the session, it did not feel like it was a virtual setup, frankly. So I think it was purely in terms of the way the entire program is built in.
Yeah, actually, we were all pretty surprised that we had to very quickly shift the entire program to a virtual program. Although it has always been a blended program, even in the past, there were classrooms and virtuals, but since I think May of 2020, it has become completely virtual, and you joined in September. So obviously you were among the early takers. So how was the virtual experience? I mean, overall, now that it's a 7-month-long journey, completely virtual. So how was the experience?
Well, I think the experience is really good. As I said, initially when I joined it, I had my apprehension saying, how will the experience be? Because I've attended a couple of more webinars, sessions, classrooms, which are virtual, and you tend to doze off, frankly. And if it's a 4-hour-long session, it is very difficult. But I think, people like Colleen and others who were the facilitators just kept us alive through the session. And the topics are so interesting. I think you keep yourself abreast and keep yourself updated all the time. So that really helps you in terms of being active and alive in the classroom compared to a lot of other courses that I've seen attended as well. So I think kudos to the facilitators. I think they kept the virtual setup extremely alive.
Yeah, and of course, you would recognize that now you will recognize in hindsight that the virtual design is also based on the AGES principle, which you would have studied in your coaching. And so which is a neuroscience principle of learning recall. So we have actually designed the program based on neuroscience. So that also adds to the the impact of the program. So how has new learning impacted your professional or personal space now that you have learned and you become a certified coach, how is this impacting your
So
space?
I think multiple things. So, main, I think in terms of professional, I'll talk first. I think in my role, I get to interact with employees, with leaders across who have different breadth of experience. I think in terms of this experience has helped me. I'm still not a coach who will directly coach people and run those sessions per se, but learning this and in future I plan to become one as well. But just having those insights on be able to talk to people, how do you talk to people? Things like scarf model, right? I mean, where you know exactly what the person is going through, right? Those things really help you be able to maneuver around, talk to people, understand them, and then be able to subtly coach them, right? And not directly per se, but subtly coach them and take them in the right direction. So at least in my role being in the human resource sector, it has helped me immensely in professional life. On personal front, I think I've used it in multiple places. I think I've used it with my son, who's just 6 year old. I've used my wife, who's again HR professional as well. So that really helps thinking. I mean, making sure I'm able to balance things both professionally and personally as well. So that's a really nice piece to have.
Now, you brought in a very interesting point of view here, Harsha, which is the fact that coaching doesn't have to be all the time in the professionals. I mean, you don't have to be a professional coach. Your everyday conversations in organizations actually have a lot of space for coaching. And that is something, all our viewers should pick up, because coaching is not just because you want to become a certified coach to actually look at a second career. It is really something that helps you in your conversations, because it's a complete transformation in the way we normally deal with things. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, man, because I think that was one of the pieces. A lot of people discourage me saying, "Are you getting into coaching? Will you be a professional coach? Only then pick it up and things like that." But I definitely thought saying this will give me a very different dimension to be able to talk to people, just understand them, right? So, even if you're a professional, I mean, professionally not be human resource, you're any professional for that matter. I personally feel coaching is going to help you move in a much more positive direction from where you are currently, and impact others as well for that matter. So you don't have to take it in a professional journey or be a human resource or a coach for that matter, right? Even if you're any, I mean, even in our batch, we had people from varied industry backgrounds. I think we had definitely people who wanted to be coaches. We had definitely people who human resources, but we had others as well who had varied industry backgrounds. So I'm sure it's going to help everybody for that matter.
No, I think that whole blend of having people from different industries, different functions, and especially those practices that you're doing, between sessions, I think all of that really add to the flavor of the learning that you've had. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Now I want to move into another direction, which is, there's been a lot of neuroscience in this program, right? And of course, you learn a lot of techniques, both at the base level and then more advanced when you go into your coaching toolkits and all of that. So, of all these things that you've learned here, as a coaching education, as something that now you've picked up as it's a muscle memory that you've built, what will be your top two insights?
Oh, I think that is difficult to say. Top two, frankly. I think I have so many insights that I've got. But if you were to frankly push me in that direction to select two, I think one was in terms of the ability to hear somebody, right? Extremely important, right? I think coaching imbibes you to hear people, listen to them. I think that is extremely important, and not just hear what they're saying, but hear those subtle pieces that they might not be saying, but hinting in their conversations. That is extremely important in my view, and that was one of the biggest insights that I've had. Right? I think that really helped me when I have a conversation now with people. Right? It could be conversation around grievances. It could be conversations around I'm not getting promotion. You try to understand that subtle message, or having conversation with people who are leaving the firm or wanted to resign. Right? Be able to understand what exactly is under that iceberg model as we talk about. So I mean, you understand. I think that really helps you, or that was one of my biggest insights that I would say. Right. The other piece in terms of I think the dance of insight, right? How well you're able to place people first and then have a conversation them was something which is really critical for me in terms of one of the theories that we studied as well. So I would say those were two key pieces that definitely I learned. I mean, at least those two comes to my mind right away when you ask me for that. But I'm sure there are multiple of them that I've learned across as well.
So thank you for sharing that. And absolutely, there are obviously many insights, and but you brought out two very critical elements. I mean, coaching actually impacts the way you listen to people. So so glad you mentioned that. And we talk about that as listening for potential. So yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting concept itself. So what next? Now that you have become certified, you are using it in the coaching space, in your professional life, your conversations are hopefully changing, you're seeing some impact. How will you take it forward?
So one is definitely trying to see how best I can implement these learnings in my day-to-day work environment as well. So that really helps me. So keep practicing is something extremely important. I think that was one piece. All of our facilitators and coaches who came through mentioned to us that you need to keep practicing. Otherwise, it's a skill, as you talked about the muscle memory, right? You need to keep practicing. That's when the flair comes through as well. So one thing I've been kept investing is in terms of practicing that. I think going forward, definitely getting a professional certification as well would definitely help my career as well. So that is one thing I'm definitely looking at. I also try and not at least teach professionally, but at least convey some of the messages that I learned through the coaching journey that I have gone through in the last 7-8 months. To talk to my team, understand them, push them as well a lot of times to be able to pick up more learnings. I think because one thing I've learned from the entire journey is that you have to keep learning. Otherwise, there's nothing much that's going to happen. So that's one thing I keep pushing my team as well, and others whom I talk to keep learning, if it is coaching or anything else for that matter. So those are a couple of pieces I'm looking at continuing as well as future journey for myself.
That's wonderful, Harsha. And yes, learning is a lifelong journey, and we call it growth mindset, right? So
absolutely,
I think that you can always, there's no end to what you can become. My last question to you: any observations or advice to those who wish to become certified coaches, professional people like you? Many of them out there who actually are toying with this idea of moving into coaching, but maybe a little confused. So any thoughts or advices to them?
We absolutely, as I said, one, you don't need to worry that you need to be in a certain domain area to pick up coaching. I think you can be in any domain area, right? It could be, you could be a doctor, you could be engineer, you could be a human resource professional, even IT professional for that matter. Coaching will definitely help you, right? Either professionally or personally, to be able to talk to people, understand as well. So I think that's one thing that people should not worry when they're getting into or thinking about picking up coaching. It definitely helps you. Right now, I think in the pandemic stage that we are currently in, hopefully we come out of it. But if some of them have apprehensions on virtual setup, I think that's one more thing which they should rule that out, because I think the kind of facilitators we have with NLI, I think they're best in the class. Definitely makes that setup more or less redundant. I think you feel as much as you're in the class than a virtual setup. So I think I will definitely recommend people to pick it up and go ahead with that. I don't think any apprehension should be in anybody's mind for that matter.
Thank you, Harsha, for that very candid conversation. And yes, there's lots more that I want to talk to you about, but we have a certain time. So thank you so much for coming in, and wish you all the best for your coaching journey.
Well, thank you so much, Somen. Thank you so much, and wishing you all the best as well.